Hello, you're watching Sightline. Today in our studio we have Mr. Bayarsaikhan, National Project Manager of planetGOLD Mongolia. So Altanbagana, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us at the MNB World.
Pleasure to have you. The planetGOLD program works to make small-scale gold mining safer, cleaner, and more profitable. So, as a national project manager of the planetGOLD Mongolia project, could you please introduce our audience to the concepts of planetGOLD program and the planetGOLD Mongolia project in particular?
Okay, so planetGOLD Mongolia is actually funded by Global Environment Facility, and it's implemented by United Nations Environmental Program and United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And the project here in Mongolia is executed by Artisanal Gold Council. It's an international non-profit organization based in Canada, and we are working in partnership with the Mongolian Ministry of Environment and Tourism. And actually we are part of 9-country global program, including Peru, Colombia, Guyana, Burkina Faso, Indonesia, Philippines, and it's a global program is to support the countries who have joined the Minamata Convention to reduce the mercury emission in artisanal small-scale gold mining. And before I give you the information about the project, let me give you an update, overview on what's happening in artisanal small-scale mining in the world. So roughly about 15 million people working in artisanal small-scale gold mining in over 80 countries, and actually 20% of the total gold production is coming from artisanal small-scale gold mining. 20%. And the annual value of this gold production is actually reaching $28 billion. But at the same time, however, this sector is largely informal and is the biggest contributor to the mercury emission in the world, and at the 37%. And approximately 2,000 tons of mercury emission being released into the environment on an annual basis. So as you can see, mercury is a huge problem in Asgm, and as we all know, mercury is a very dangerous and toxic chemical to human health and the environment. So therefore, the Minamata Convention was introduced to reduce the adverse effect of mercury on human health and environment. And so far, 128 countries have joined the convention, and 123 countries actually ratified the convention. Mongolia ratified the convention in 2015, and since joining the convention, Mongolia also has approved a national action plan to reduce mercury pollution from Asgm in Mongolia, and this national action plan was approved in 2019. So our project here in Mongolia is to contribute to the reduction of mercury in artisanal small-scale gold mining through supporting the government of Mongolia, providing passing and approving policies and regulations that will formalize the sector, and also we will help the miners to have access to formal capital markets and finance in the international market on obtaining funding for mercury-free processing centers facilities. And also we are working towards, we are trying to build the capacities of artisanal miners so they could actually improve their mining practices, so they can conduct their mining activities more responsibly in environmentally friendly way.
So it means that you are doing trainings to those miners?
Yes, a lot of trainings.
So how important would you say it is to formalize the sector? And also, in order to formalize the sector, what are the challenges that have been hindering the process?
So any informal business, any informal sector always leads to a lot of issues. So in case of mining, it's bad environmental practice, environmental degradation, bad health and safety issues, violation of human rights. So all these issues go with being informal. It's just not only ASM, and also in ASM. Oh, sorry, in informal sector, as we all know, it's really hard to tax the informal sector, right? Also, it's really hard to monitor the sector. So same applies to ASM. Because of informality, government services are not reaching to the ASM communities. So formalization is very important to recognize the ASM and also make sure that to improve the livelihood of the local communities. And actually, Mongolia has made good, significant steps since 2010 when it first recognized ASM. Actually, currently, about 18 laws and regulations are regulating this sector to various degrees. And then one of the last regulations is actually on the formalizing the gold trading in Mongolia, which was in 2020. So now that all the gold traders in Mongolia have to abide by this rule, receive a license in order to trade gold. So there have been positive things happening in Mongolia, but at the same time, as also in 2019, government issued a resolution 355, which actually basically froze the key clauses of the ASM regulation.
Could you elaborate on the revolution?
So, which is these key clauses are actually issuance of new ASM land conclusions, and also the concluding a mining contract with the ASM partnerships. So, with these suspension of these clauses, actually, and also subsequent delay of revising this ASM regulation, that's actually creating a lot of uncertainty amongst the artisanal miners in the sector. And uncertainty is not good. It's always it leads to all the issues that I just mentioned. So it's really important to expedite the approval of ASM regulation so that the miners can have a formal environment, legal environment to work in.
So in Mongolia, how many people are working as artisanal miners? And so like lots of them are informal, but like how many are like estimated number?
It's a very good question, and as you said, it's informal, right? And many of them are informal, and some of them are doing mining illegally. So it's really hard to have an exact figure, and it's just not only Mongolia. It's the whole world that's having an issue with the number of artisanal miners. Exactly. All the numbers are always an estimation. So early, when we first in ASM emerged in Mongolia in late 1990s, it was reported that around 100,000 people worked in the sector. Since then, has been decreasing gradually, and so roughly we estimate it's about 30 to 40,000 people working in this sector. And actually, the Sustainable Artisanal Mining Project, funded by Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, they worked with the National Statistics Office to conduct a survey amongst artisanal miners. It was done twice, in 2012 and 2016. And in 2016, about 12,000 people were surveyed during this survey. But it's, as I say, it's not a census. There's no way we could count the numbers. It's participated by the mostly formal miners on a voluntary basis.
How many of the artisanal miners in Mongolia have been formalized so far?
I would say about 10 to 16%, if we are counting 40,000. It's really hard, right? But what I can say is that formalization is not good. It's very low, and it needs to be improved.
Okay, thank you. So what are the main strategies that planetGOLD Mongolia project has set to improve the access to the international responsible gold markets available more directly? Okay.
So it's responsible access to an international trade market. It's actually kind of somewhat new topic in Mongolia, but it's also global trend that has been happening over the last decade or so, and it's a convergence of number of trends. So there has been a number of mining activity happening illegally or irresponsibly, and global countries countries around the world have become aware about all these issues, and also consumers, all the people in the world have started asking for responsible products, right? So all these actually come into improved gold trading regulations. It started out first as a voluntary basis, where companies were encouraged to follow these standards on a voluntary basis. But now it has become a regulation. There's an increasing pressure from the different jurisdictions. So what this regulation is about? It's conducting a due diligence on the all along the supply chain, from the origin of the mine to the end user, and it's also making sure that all the gold to the end buyer is traceable back to the miner. And there are two big key regulations, I would say. It's OECD due diligence guidance and London Bullion Market Association responsible gold guidance. So these two are the very key ones that Mongolia should follow. And as a project, we have actually introduced the planetGOLD criteria, which is based on an international standard called CRAFT, which is also in compliance with this due diligence guidance. So in fact, we just did a training in Saling province in December, involving the miners from Gobi, Altai, and Hof provinces. We also did a training in August for the government officials on the guidances and regulations.
So the regulation was formalized in 2020, the gold trading resolution of the government. So since then, how much of the gold purchased by the Bank of Mongolia were the product of the responsible mining?
It's really hard to track. Currently, what I understand is the Bank of Mongolia buys from the mining companies, large-scale mining companies, as well as individual people who are mostly traders. But they also made a requirement that they will only buy from the licensed traders. So in a way, the unlicensed traders are being pushed from the market. But also we have to be mindful about all these different reports about gold being smuggled out of the country. So, but it's not. We don't have full data on that.
Okay, thank you. So the planetGOLD program started its operation in Mongolia since in 2019.
2019.
So since then, what measures have you been taking to ensure better regulated Asgm in Mongolia?
Yeah, so when we first started, so this resolution 355 came out. So since then, we have been working with the government of Mongolia, the key ministries, to advocate and for the revision of the Asgm regulation, and we are actually in the task force to revise the regulation. And we have been hosting meetings. We have been providing feedbacks and comments to the government officials, the task force, how to improve the regulation. At the same time, also we are working towards creating a mercury-free processing technology to reduce the mercury in Asgm. And also, as I said earlier, we are doing a lot of capacity building activities for government officials as well as the artisanal miners.
I would like to ask you to elaborate the mercury-free system. How does it work?
Okay, so let me give you information about how mercury is being used in artisanal gold, small-scale gold mining. It's actually in Mongolia. It's being used in hard rock mining. What miners usually do is they mix the gold ore and mercury, and they create a mixture called amalgam, and they burn it. Then mercury is evaporated, then the gold stays. If you think about it, the evaporation is very toxic to human health. And the system we are trying to implement here is it's only using gravitational methods to separate the gold, because gold is heavy, right, on the other metals. So that's how so it's completely mercury free. process, using mercury for gold is also, it's not high,
In cost.
high recovery. You don't get a lot of gold from this process. The only reason people using it is because it's cheap, easy, and just one person can do it, and that's why people are using it. But our technology is actually will help the miners with the increased recovery. They will improve their income as well.
So in terms of improving the capacity building of the artisanal gold miners, so what type of activities is the planetGOLD project doing?
Yeah, so in 2020, we actually did a baseline study of the project in our target communities. It's Gobi Altai, Hoft, and Seleng provinces. And we actually surveyed, in that study we included 371 miners. And also we additionally interviewed 73 key stakeholders from government officials, artisanal miners, also representative from the Asgm NGOs, and also processing plants. And one of the key interesting things that we learned was that we asked about their needs for the trainings, what they want to learn, and the highest number of interested topics were formalization, responsible mining, and environmental protection, and occupational health and safety. So based on these needs, so we developed training materials, and we conducted these set of trainings on responsible mining, gender and human rights, environmental protection and rehabilitation, occupational health and safety, business and financial management. So these trainings have actually been conducted in the last quarter of last year in Seleng and Hoft IMAX, and we plan to conduct these trainings in Gobi Altai early this year, hopefully within the first quarter. And what we see from these trainings was that it was really well received. There was a lot of people who commented that the trainings were, really impacted their knowledge, and that they would actually implement, the knowledge they learned in their work. Yeah.
planetGOLD Mongolia project finishes in 2023. So by the time, what do you hope to have achieved?
Yeah, so we are halfway through the project, and hopefully by the end of the project, in the end of 2023, I hope that the miners would have a very good understanding and knowledge on how to conduct artisanal mining, responsibly, environmentally friendly way. And I also that the mercury pre-processing system that we built is actually will contribute to the reduction of mercury use in Mongolia. And this system is actually with the improved funding, it's actually scalable to other Asgm communities. And actually it's also an example of highlighting the artisanal small-scale gold mining, and its opportunities that that can help with the Sustainable Development Goals set by UN, and so that it can actually attract more investment, and also create a better exposure and perspective of artisanal small-scale gold mining. And lastly, but not least, I hope that the government of Mongolian government officials understand the importance of artisanal small-scale gold mining in Mongolia, the challenges and opportunities the miners bring in the sector. And so when they actually create new legislations or revise new legislations, they take consideration of this sector as a just part of the mining sector.
You've watched Sightline. Today we talked with B.Altanbagana Bayarsaikhan, the National Project Manager of the planetGOLD Mongolia project. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.